All right, so a couple of days we filmed a very interesting episode. It was actually in combination of the match preview to Tottenham, and we spoke a little bit about other United news in general. So one topic that really stood out and that we spent almost an hour diving into this topic was the whole Jadon Sancho and Erik Ten Hag situation. Now, of course, you know that Jadon Sancho has gone off on loan to Borussia Dortmund, and some stories broke out. Some stories broke out before he left. Some stories broke out during that transition, and of course, some stories have broken out ever since he has been playing for them. I think so far he has played one game. He has scored. He created an assist. Sorry, and of course, it's driving the whole football world crazy. But like I said, we had this conversation last week, so this was before that match was even played, and there was a lot of interesting things that had to be said. We spoke about what Matich said. We spoke about what Ralph said, and we just spoke about the situation in general. And I'm sure you guys know in the past week, there have just been headlines after headlines after headlines of what exactly is going on with Jadon Sancho. Are we going to keep him after this loan spell, or are we going to get rid of him? So we don't know where things stand. But like I said, we had a very interesting conversation. We recorded it. We just didn't want to put it out because it was way too long. Like I said, that conversation lasted for almost an hour before we got into our match preview. So here's the episode that we recorded. Would love you guys to listen to it. We think it was really interesting. Went back and forth. A lot of interesting points were put across. And at the end of the day, we also want to hear what you guys have to say about the situation. How do you feel about it? Are you Team Sancho? Are you Team Ten Hag? Are you sitting on the fence like myself? I'm on the fence. Well, I consider myself to be on the fence with the situation. I honestly believe that it would be in United's best interest and favor if whatever's happening between those two can get corrected. And obviously, that starts with Jadon Sancho apologizing to the manager and hopefully seeing himself back in that starting 11 next season. But anyway, guys, here's what we recorded last week and hope you enjoy it. Yeah. But Sancho, and of course, Ragnick came out and broke his story, and now it's like we're back to square one figuring
Mm,
out this thing because it seems like
yeah.
every single time there's an event that happens, new evidence is presented, you know. And I
Mm,
don't know if you're following the conversation in the football group, when that news broke, and then I think Tamwani shared it in the football group, and then obviously
I saw
blame went
it.
towards Ten, right? And I'm not trying to strip away anyone's opinion. He has a valid opinion to say that look, um, Ten Hag is the problem, right? And like I said, I've always tried to be neutral. Even when we've had the conversation between me and you, we even had an episode literally based on Sancho, where I was trying so much to stay on the fence and saying, look, I understand it from Ten Hag's side, I understand it from Jadon Sancho's side. I don't know. You get what I mean? And
Yeah.
when this story broke out, it made me think about like myself in the workplace, right? You're always going to get people, you always want to get the managers on top, then you're gonna get the working staff. Working staff are always gonna back each other the same way managers are gonna back each other in any work scenario. So obviously there's a lot
Yeah.
of controversy on players commenting on Jadon Sancho's tweet when he's like, I'm finally home and I feel comfortable, nye, nye, nye. And players were giving him all this like, yeah, can't wait to see you out on the field, go do you know what I mean, etc., etc. Like players are banding with players against the manager. And I don't really think it's like that. It's just team players looking out for team players the same way managers will look out for managers. So the same way managers will be like, no, the players are wrong, it's gonna work or vice versa. So, like I said, I'm not in any position to point fingers and say the players are wrong by doing this, or point fingers and say the managers are wrong by doing this. It's a tricky situation. Worse with Manchester United, we just never know what goes on in that club. Everything is secret. There's misinformation that's put out there, the way situations are handled. So, man, I don't know. What are your thoughts, man? Because honestly, like, man, I'm just at that point where I don't care. But if you know what I mean, like, not that I don't care, but I just don't care.
I
You know
feel
what I
you,
mean?
dog.
It's like for me,
I feel you.
it's done. I just want to move on. Like whatever the truth is, it's there. But I don't want it to like interrupt with what's going on at Manchester United. If you know what I mean.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts? What? I'm really interested to hear
Man,
what you have to say because I know you are always in favor of the managers, no matter
of
what.
course.
You know?
Of
Yeah.
course. I am backing the manager here 100%. Sancho can miss me with all his nonsense. Like I don't care
Yeah.
what I've been seeing the football world responding to this thing of Sancho, oh king, oh giving him a crown, oh get back and do your
Yeah.
football thing. Listen, I get it. Support it. It's like what you're talking about. This is a fraternity. It's a brotherhood. When you're
Yeah.
inside this football community, when some people don't understand, like people don't really know what's going on, you get the support.
Yeah.
I get it. It's fine. But what Sancho did was wrong, pure and simple.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
miss
100%.
me with that. Like, Sancho
Yeah.
is an employee of Manchester United. He works under the
Yeah.
manager. The manager calls the shots. Like, I am,
Yeah.
like, dog, I have been done with this player power bullshit. I am
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
taking Jadon Sancho's side. Now, I want to explain a little bit because the more I keep on thinking about this, the more I feel like it was the smallest petty fight that ended up being so big to a
Yep.
point where it's like there was no return. And that
Yeah.
that that,
Yeah.
that kind of like annoys me because when you think about it, if you look at Erik Ten Hag's press conferences, whenever he's asked about a certain player, he has not pulled any punches. Maybe you could say maybe Rashford is the one player that you could say that he has backed him in a very strange way. But then there are certain
Mm.
players when he's asked off the bat, like of these kind of difficult questions, he has been very consistent. I think he even talked about what is this? I don't know if it was Martial. I don't know who he talked
Martial.
about. God, he just
Yeah.
plain and simple. This guy is not fit. He's not there. Like he
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
says it as it is. Now, at the time when
Yeah.
he said it, it was the similar thing. It was a
Yeah.
similar thing. Sancho is the one that took it out of. I don't know what was in his heart. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Now, for him to be humble enough to go back and apologize, like that was so difficult for him. Like he felt so wronged that he's like, nah, I'm gonna stick by what I believe, and there's nothing that's going to change my mind. I don't care being exiled. Like, really, dude? Like you didn't
Mm.
even want to understand what the manager was trying to say. Like you didn't even want to have this conversation because I'm assuming
Yeah.
they haven't had this conversation, and that's sad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
So now he's out there doing his thing. Listen, he can go to Borussia Dortmund, help them win the Champions League. That's all good. But his behavior at Manchester United was out of pocket. He went
Yeah.
out of line. And we are a club trying to gain control of the situation. We are a club that has been plagued with these players, like this situation, all these stories we're hearing about Sancho being late and whatever attitude, it's not the first time, and he's not the only player that does this. So we are trying to be Manchester United, where we are a disciplined club. We're trying to go, and I hate using this phrase, but we're trying to go back to the Fergie times. When I say Fergie times, I'm talking to the time when
Yeah.
we're disciplined. You understand? Where the
Yeah. Yeah.
club
Yeah.
took pride, not everybody calling the
Yeah.
shots. None of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, none of this. So to
So.
me,
So.
Sancho, he was out of line. The manager wanted
Yeah.
to gain control. He wanted to assert his authority, and it was being challenged,
Yeah.
and he refused to back down. So how are you going to side with a player that refuses to listen to authority? How?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
are you going to allow that kind of behavior? It makes no sense. If you're the kind of people, if people are the kind, like people allow or like destructive players, players that are going to cause disharmony or this bad attitude, he's supposed to be setting an example. All these other youngsters, is like you were saying, all these other youngsters will see Sancho doing this. If Sancho can do this and he's earning this money, I can do the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do, but then we're trying to lead by example. We need to cut
Yeah.
that thing. It was a cancer, it had to be removed. So,
Now.
Sancho, good luck, good riddance. Go and do your thing, come back. Go and do your thing, come back because
Yeah.
they're still contracted with Manchester United. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know if he wants to apologize or not because, hey,
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of discussion between the owners, the new guys, and Erik Ten Hag and Sancho, where they're trying to resolve this thing
Yeah.
during the summer. Because there's going to have
Yeah.
to be a dialogue. There
Yeah.
has to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
dialogue. So when that dialogue is had, I don't know. Maybe the manager will be sacked. Sancho will stay. New manager comes in. Sancho shines again and then goes back into his behavior. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I'm not
Yeah,
siding with Sancho on this. I'm sorry.
yeah.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
look, I hear you, and anyway, like I said, the reason why I'm staying like on the fence is because I think we don't know the full story. And Ralph Ragnick, what Ragnick came and said, put a big spanner in the screws. You understand what I
No.
mean?
And
Because
and
if
can I
now
say?
listen, Ben, wait, hold on, right? Because like I said, like, and I think I mentioned this in the group that
Oh,
that that was
that
a one time that was an isolated incident, right? And now it's like, okay, at least if the stories were consistent, because Ralph Ragnick is a respected manager, right? We spoke about Ragnick when he came to United, we sang his praises. So now I asked that question, and it seems I haven't got any response till now. I'm like, okay, so what you guys are saying is that Ralph was lying about Sancho, right? Because you can't say one thing and not acknowledge the other, right? You
wait,
can't come and
is this the
say
statement
matches.
of? Are
This
you
was a
talking about the
statement
statement of he's a nice
from Ralph
guy, blah blah
Ragnick.
blah?
No, yes,
That's it.
Ralph Ragnick came out and said, when I was there, Jaden had no disciplinary issues. I had no disciplinary issues with Jadon Sancho, right? He
Okay.
was a stand-up guy. He came into training. He needed to do what he needed to do. You get what I mean? So he had no problems with Sancho. You
Oh, by
get.
the way,
So
Ralph
now,
Rangnick came in between Man United, right?
yeah, yeah, no, no,
Just
no,
so
of
we
course.
point that out. All right, let's go.
Look, I yes, he came in between. Yeah. So now my
Right.
question is, and I'm not trying to fight and I'm not trying to take sides. I'm just trying to,
Mm,
hold cases for both sides. 'Cause and I think I mentioned this before, and I'm like, there are other players who have also made cock ups, right? And they've been given that allowance to like, oh, I want to forgive you and let's move on, right? And I do understand that some of them, yes, we did give them that grace because of what they achieved or accomplished on the pitch, and that's fair enough, right? But we also do know that Sancho, since he has arrived, he's also been one of those players that has been struggling to get into the team. He probably only had maybe one season that he was playing full time. But even
mm,
under Ole, we used to cry and say, "Why are you not starting this player?" Same thing with Donny van de Beek, etc., right?
yeah.
So when Ralph came out and said, "Look, I hear all these stories, but I was at that club and I never had any issues with this player. So I don't know where all these comments are coming from, right?" So the only thing I want to know is that, are you guys telling me, the guys who are fully on Ten Hag's side and not on Sancho's side, are you guys telling me that what Ralph was saying is absolute bollocks?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
All right, dude. Ralph Ranick is a respectable manager, right? I respect
Mm,
that guy, and I think when he arrived, between you and I, you were the one that was like, "Nah, let's not give him." I don't. But and I was like, trusting. I
yeah.
respected his mind. I respected him. Even his press conferences, I loved everything that he said. He reminded
Yeah.
me of Tuchel. I like these managers that when they come in and they discuss, they say it as it is. He was that
Yeah.
manager. Now,
Yep.
when he came in and dealt with Sancho, that was with his time. Like that was just an isolated situation, the way I see it. Because here's why I'm saying this, D. Because it's easy for Ralph Ranick, being a respectable man, to come and say that I didn't have a problem with him. But then now, is he trying to say that Erik Ten Hag is also lying? Because Erik Ten Hag is, like, it has been evident to us in front of the whole world that there's been a scuffle between Erik Ten Hag and Jadon Sancho. And let's go and let us not forget that this issue is because Sancho refused to back down. He refused to put down his Instagram post, because this was not going to be as big as it was, because the manager said what he said and that was it. He has said it with every other player. This is what I was talking about, that he's been consistent. He doesn't pull punches. If you ask him a question that's awkward or weird, whatever answer he's going to give you, he'll give you. Now, he did the same thing with Sancho, and Sancho is the one that reacted. Sancho
Yeah.
has created this scenario. Let us remember that.
Look,
It's not the
I
manager.
look,
The
Ben, I
manager is
agree
the.
with look,
No, 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 no.
I
D,
agree
wait,
with
wait,
that.
wait.
I
Let me finish.
agree with that, right?
Yeah, let me finish.
I just wanted to know, like, are
Yeah,
you
let me
saying
finish.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Cool, 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 cool.
yeah. Let me finish. Now, Sancho with his issue, and it's even mind-boggling, D, when you look at how the history between Ten Hag and Sancho when Ten Hag came in. Can we go back to that? Why is it almost like people are forgetting that Sancho had to go on a sabbatical and he was being helped? Now, for a youngster to react like that after just being called out just for something, his levels were not good for training. Then you react like that, and then you're defiant. You're like, nah, this is bullshit. Don't listen to what everybody says. Don't do this. Don't do this. It's like, oh, you secretly had a problem with the manager. You just waited for an opportunity to explode. Now, I'm not saying that what Ralph Ranick said is wrong. It is probably right because when he was there, he probably didn't have a problem with Sancho. But Sancho, right now, with Ten Hag and that post and everything, was a problem. So how are we trying to compare what Ralph Ranick? It doesn't matter because I've even saw. You see, I've seen the response to Sancho from the football world.
Yeah,
I even saw Benny McCarthy saying, like, putting a heart and a crown under his post. And I asked
yeah,
myself this question. And I'm like, Benny McCarthy, you are at that club because of Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag is on this thing with Sancho. Now, maybe he put that because it was a personal thing. Now, if you look at it even more deeper, does it mean that Benny McCarthy also doesn't agree with the way Erik Ten Hag is handling the situation? Like, what are they trying to tell us? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Sancho
yeah.
was wrong. Sancho was
Look,
wrong. Like
look,
if
I hear. Look,
Rashford had done like if a foreign player had done something like this, dude, just imagine a
no, look,
Bruno.
man.
A,
look, I get what you're saying. I get it, right?
nah,
And what I'm trying to steer away from is assumptions, right? Because everyone is taking a bit of the story and is creating their own story. You get what I mean? When none of us know the real truth. And that's what I'm trying to push. Because every time I bring up a question, you keep pressing on this point that you fucked up. This is why you fucked up. Don't forget, don't forget. Like we get all that stuff that happened, and I acknowledge it and I get it, right? And I've also agreed with you that yes, Sancho was wrong. He shouldn't have gone out to Twitter. He shouldn't have posted that. He should have taken it down. He should have had a discussion with the manager. That's a fact that I'm never going to change. It's
okay,
something that I'm not going to back down on. I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with everybody. It's factual. It's there.
okay,
You can go to Twitter and you
okay,
can see it. So we're basing
okay,
this conversation off facts. We're not basing it off, oh, Sancho this, Sancho that. No, we're basing it off facts. What we have been given. We're trying to like strip away what is not relevant and whatever. So, like I said, my question was simple, right? And that's all I wanted was just a simple answer. Like I get all of that backstory was regardless of yes, we know what's happening, but when Ralph came out and because Ralph has come and said what he has said, right? Are we choosing to dismiss that? Are we looking at okay, that is the truth, or is that a lie?
I honestly, okay, after Ralph Ranick, who came in?
Because because even when I said in the group that this disciplinary thing was not even what Ten Hag said in his statement. This disciplinary thing came out of people now creating stories from what was actually said. What was
Exactly.
actually
This
said
was a
was
training thing,
what was
comment.
actually said exactly. What was actually said was Sancho was not fit or he wasn't ready to play. Basically said he wasn't in tip top shape. He didn't perform well in training. That's why he didn't start. He didn't perform well in training. That's why he didn't start. Then all these conspiracy things and whatever started breaking out of nowhere. This, no, we heard that. And then somehow disciplinary is the headline that caught everyone's attention. And then everyone focused on the disciplinary thing, right? And
You
now
know
the whole
why?
thing has been made about Sancho's disciplinary, right?
Do you know
So
why?
now it's like there are two conversations here that are being held. And we're like, okay, guys, cool. The disciplinary thing we've heard from two sources, right? Not from anybody else or whatever, because Ten Hag hasn't said anything about the Sancho situation ever since that story broken out. He has reserved his comments. He hasn't once come out and said that he's had problems with Sancho in terms of disciplinary. He hasn't come out and said it. He hasn't. That means that two people who have spoken about it. It's Matic and it's Ralph Ragnick. And one is saying that he has disciplinary problems, and the other is saying that he doesn't.
Okay.
So I'm
So
saying that
listen,
if you've got two statements, you like if you're saying that I believe Matic, then you're saying Ralph is lying. Do you get what I mean? Because both statements can't be true. And if you're believing what Ralph Rangnick is saying, Matic is lying. You get, and that's why
D,
for me personally, I've said I am staying on the fence because I
who
I I
spent longer
I
time
don't
with
have
Sancho
I
between
don't
Matic
have
and Ralph?
enough evidence.
Just
I
quick
don't have
question.
enough evidence to say that
Who spent a longer time with Sancho between Matic and Ralph Ranić? Just
Matic
the
did.
question.
Matic
Matic
did.
did, right? Ralph Ranić spent 6 months at United, maybe even less than 6 months. Now, he is scrutinized for his football, for his thing not working at United, his Gangam not working. Like he's scrutinized for that. The only thing that people are taking that from Ralph Rangnick was what he said. Now, and then that respect is there. Like I'm not trying to go away from what Ralph Rangnick said. Like he didn't have a problem with it because with Sancho, because mind you, Sancho was playing for him when Ralph Rangnick was there. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
He did. So it's a very simple situation to say he didn't have a problem with him. Matic's thing is an isolated situation. He said that Sancho was part of the other guys who used to come late. It wasn't like this thing of like it is a discipline thing. He just said that these guys were there doing that thing. The discipline. Okay, no, the discipline at United was like he had accumulated a lot of what his bill was so high because of his
Yeah.
disciplinary issues. That's what he meant. Now, people took all these things and talked about this disciplinary issue because of his act of defiance towards the gaffer. That simple act of him trying to
You
go
know what?
against the
Honestly,
manager. Listen, D.
I don't see how that translates into disciplinary. I don't know how from
Okay,
what
so
he
okay,
did. I don't. That's why I said a lot of
so
things
it
were thrown
so
out there,
by not saying that, so it means
and
that it
then
was okay.
disciplinary court. It doesn't
So
equate. You can't
no, so
say
it's saying
because
it's
he did
okay.
that. Then I'm
No,
not
D.
saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay.
You
I'm saying
can't
that
have it
people
both
are
ways.
finding. Look,
How can you say
Ben.
it is okay for him
No,
to be
you can't
defined
say
against
that,
the manager and say that that's not a disciplinary issue?
Ben.
How?
Something can happen in isolation. If someone can act one time out of character, that one time does not define your character. You understand what I mean? If you're an honest and stand-up person, and one time, you decide to steal, are you now a thief? Are you now a
You're a
thief,
thief
Ben?
because you stole. What do you mean, D? Like, what do you mean?
Am I saying that your whole character now is not you've been just a thief?
No, you stole, which makes you
One
a thief
time.
at that moment.
Yes,
When you stole,
yes,
you were a
you
thief.
stole. Ben, I get it. You stole. But I'm just saying that, are you telling me that you stole? Cool. That was just a one time isolated thing. But now it's like, oh, Ben, now we're gonna throughout like whatever he throughout his
Okay,
whole
D, let
existence,
me
he's a
let me
thief.
ask you this. Let me ask you this, D. Do you think if Sancho, like after this whole thing went out, and then he first unleashed his the Twitter thing, his response, if he did that and then quickly and then apologized and said no, like it was a mistake or whatever, whatever, do you think we would be talking about his disciplinary issues?
No, of course we wouldn't, Ben, and I get
Why
that.
not?
I'm just,
Why not?
because he went back and he apologized.
So that's what I'm saying.
No, I
Is
get that.
disciplinary thing stuck because he was being defiant? How are you not seeing that, D? Like if he stopped, nobody was going to be like, okay, Sancho has got a problem. Like, nah, let's go back. Like, okay,
All
he
right.
understood his mistake. Let's take it back. But he
All
stuck by
right.
it. He stuck.
All
No,
right. You know what? You know what? This topic has always been sensitive. The first time we spoke about it
nah.
and now. You know what I mean? So, you know what? Um like I said, I honestly I'm just trying to see it. It's just unfortunate that it's like I'm always speaking on Sancho's behalf when I'm not. I respect Ten Hag as a manager. I
Like
understand that,
D,
he has to
I
make decisions, But I just feel like you can't like push like something on one side and not address the other. You get what I mean? Because in other episodes, and again, it's not me trying to make excuses or whatever. I'm just trying to say that guys, let's have a level head about things. All right. Because a lot of the times would come out and say, no, a manager can't do this, but why did the manager say this? And that's why I even asked you is what Ralph Ragnick saying a lie? Because we have been speaking about this season where we have questioned Ten Hag and what he has been saying in pre and post, right? We've been talking about certain things and what's like, but why are you not just being upfront about it? You get what I mean? So there's also call to question there. You know, like how we even have these debates about the law and Wan Bisaka. There's call to question on both sides, right? But it seems that there is an agenda that's being pushed another way. Do you get it? And that one, I totally understand it. But I think my only problem in this situation is that every time the Sancho thing is being spoken about, it's everyone just pulling out stories, and just creating a narrative to push their point about something. You get what I mean? Where it's like, forget about what if or imagine or you'll find this is what he's doing. No, like what is actually what's the actual facts? What's the actual reality of this current situation? Let's talk on that. You get what I mean? Because that's why I'm even like, why why is this disciplinary thing even coming? Like I get it, like you explain it and I 100% get where you're coming from, but that was not even the root of the problem, because the root of the problem was that statement in itself about him not being perfect for that particular match. Sancho fucked up. He shouldn't have put out that post. He should have just gone straight to the manager. They should have sorted this thing out, and we should have been moving on from here. Because whether we like it or not, whether people like Sancho or not, whether people like Ronaldo or not, whether people like Van de Beek or not, these are players that have fallen under the toxicity of this club that could have helped us be in a better position than what we currently are in. Even going back to Mourinho when he got what's his name from Arsenal and benched Martial, you know, some people will be like, no, that's the manager. You just have to, you just have to, you just have to. But then you're like, but then look what it did to the player. Because the player was starting to look promising. This player was starting to pick up confidence. He was starting to pick up form. He was scoring goals left, right, and center. And then you buy a player and then you bench him. How do you think that's going? What's that gonna do to his morality? What's that gonna do to his confidence? You get what I mean? So you can't. I feel like you. I get, yes, the manager and the players are employed to whatever, but you can't dismiss actual things that go on with players. You can't dismiss feelings and stuff like that. You can't expect Martial just to be cool with it and be like, yeah, I'm just an employee here. You know what I mean? He's also trying to build something in his career. He's also trying to do something. So you can't point a finger and say, but you know what? I trust you and I respect you, Jose. But what you did there was just a shit move. You get what I mean? And so in this situation, I respect Ten Hag. I respect his decisions. And for me to come out and say that Sancho's the only person to blame in this situation, for me, that's just a flat out no. They're both to blame in this situation. You check. Because even as a manager, you have to be, I don't want to say true to yourself, but like what you said about Ralph. Ralph, we know him as a manager who goes in front of that thing and tells it how it is. Then that should be how you carry yourself the whole fucking time. But you can't be this manager this time and then the next manager the next time, you know? Then how are we supposed to feel when situations like this come up? You know? Like, are you being thoroughly honest with us, or are you just spinning a story for whatever purposes or whatever? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, fam. Like I said, that's why I just prefer being on the fence, and I think that's all I'm gonna say about the Jadon Sancho thing. Anyway, he's out of the club. I'm sure a lot of people are happy, and it is what it is.
Let me
You know
let
what
me
I
say
mean?
this. Let me say this. Let me just put this one last thing.
All right.
And I don't want people to get me wrong, because when we were in for Sancho, even when we missed him, like we've been following him, we wanted Sancho. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I love Sancho. I know he's a street baller. I know the kind of player that he is. I do. We love him. We were excited about him this the beginning of the season, because we watched him during the preseason. He looked like he was going to adopt this false nine, number 10 thing going on, like this Bobby Firmino thing going. We thought that that was what was going to happen. He looked sharp, he was scoring goals. He looked like he was on it. And we're excited about it, and that is a fact. Like I am a Manchester United fan. I will support the boys when they're doing the thing. Now I always turn on the players, or I will always be very critical or whatever if I sense something. So for example, last season, contrary to a lot, like if people don't know, between you and I, Sancho did very, very well. And between me and you, it took you a long time to actually accept that Sancho was on form. And I was giving him praise for it. Now,
You mean
this
Rashford?
year, Rashford,
Yeah. You're saying
Rashford.
you were saying you were saying Sancho.
Sorry, Rashford. Like
Rashford.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Rashford.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
this season, like from the beginning, like even from last season, I was like, nah, something has switched off with Rashford. And people were like, no, Rashford is doing this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
guys, like, what is it that you are seeing that I'm not seeing? From the beginning of the season, I was
Yeah. Yeah.
very consistent with Rashford. Now, does that
Yeah.
mean that I've turned on him? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that I've turned on Rashford. I'm still waiting for him to find his spark. But then I realized that, nah, we're not going to go anywhere with the way he's playing right now. Sancho. Now,
Yeah.
this goes now into Sancho's situation. Sancho's situation, unfortunately for him, we are at the point in our club where we're trying to get control. It's like I said, we're trying to build discipline. Like our club has been out of control for years. Now, unfortunately, he decided to be a brat, or he decided to be the way he was at a very wrong time. Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if the manager succumbed to Jadon Sancho's thing, everybody will be saying that, oh, Erik Ten Hag is weak. Erik Ten Hag is this. He couldn't handle this. He shouldn't take control. You can't be a Manchester United manager if you cannot put your players in line. You can't do that. Everybody will be saying that. Everybody will be wanting Erik Ten Hag out. In fact, people like polls, like everything will be going crazy. Now, Erik Ten Hag, ever since he has been at Manchester United, and I will keep on preaching this because I've noticed this about fans, they like to forget. Our manager has not had a honeymoon since he has arrived at Manchester United. He's been putting out like these big ass fires at United ever since he's arrived. And unfortunately for Sancho, this little thing of his that everybody seems to think, oh, poor Sancho, like it was a small thing. No, it came right in the middle of a storm. It came right in the middle of a lot of things happening. Ronaldo, see, he pulled a tantrum. Where is he? He bounced, right? David De Gea, obviously he didn't, but you understand where I'm going with this thing. The
Yeah. Yeah.
manager
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying to get control. Now, whether people are now, this is where I'm going to say, okay, I've made my opinion based on all those things, because if you are a player and you go out of line, there's no way I'm going to support you, because you being out of line makes it easy for the other players to be out of line. So I am that kind of a player. I am that kind of mindset. So if there's one, it's even say Alex Ferguson said it. If there's one rotten apple, get rid of it. If there's one player that is defiant against the manager, get rid of him. Not to say that no, he's going to cause this back and forth. And mind you, this thing has its evidence. It has caused a lot of problems because players have bagged, conversations, whatever. So I'm going to say this. It's not that I don't like Sancho. No, I was excited that we had Sancho, but I'm not going to support his behavior because, mind you, unlike everybody else, at that point where I'm like, listen, Manchester United used to be a glorious club. We are slowly trying to fix things. Slowly trying to fix things bit by bit, by bit, by bit, by bit. If it is weeding certain bullshit, we are trying to do that. Now, I'm sorry people don't like it, but this Sancho had to be an example. He was an example, and he made it easy. He really made it easy because he could have easily said, took it down, apologized, could have moved on. Sancho could have been one of the front threes that would have scored and assisted for us this season. He could have been. But then that thing of like, okay, the manager says, listen, dude, you don't want to apologize for what you said. All right, I'll be a pussy or if I let you come back into this team and do any like play. Like, so
All right.
I like Sancho, but I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
agree with his behavior. And because he went the route that he went, I will not support him. Whether he comes back and the manager gets sacked, it's all well and good. You will meet Sancho in the future. Like if the manager gets sacked and another manager comes in, we'll see. We'll see. Because let me tell you something about these players. These small dirty behaviors, if that is true, because we're trying to discuss about his discipline, if truly Sancho is not a problem child, then if he comes back and the manager leaves, there should be no issue with Jadon Sancho from henceforth going. No issue. No fucking issue. Because what? He's a cool guy. He's a disciplined boy. Like, there's no issues with him. He just wants to play ball, right? So if he comes back, I don't want to hear anything about Sancho. I don't want to hear that Sancho is. I don't, because that will send me. Man, that thing will blow my top off, because it will be like,
All
listen.
right.
Anyway, sorry, I was just going too far.
No,
But
it's
yeah,
it's
you can
fine. It's
like
fine. I just wanted
guess
to
it.
ask another question, but I'm like, this is gonna eat into too much time.
Yeah,
Because I can see,
hint it, hint it, hint it.
I can hear your passion for it. Because I'm expecting like at least like a 15-second, 20-second response, but I know it's not gonna be a 15, 20-second
No,
response. So
give
let's
it,
move
give
on.
it. I swear it
Huh?
will be a
No.
2050. I swear, I
Basically, I
swear.
wanted to ask you because you
Yeah,
obviously mentioned that as long as there's a disciplinary issue, or if there's something wrong with or some a player does something or whatever, then you're always gonna side with the manager. So
mm,
my question is there no scenario where the player is right for coming out the way the player should come out? Not what Sancho did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that
uh-huh.
players can go and do what Sancho did. That one, like I said, I always agree that that was the wrong way to handle it. But I'm just trying to
Okay.
say, if a player comes out, right, because a lot of people, right, and I'm gonna try to make this quick myself. A lot of people said that, look, Sancho's not being given an opportunity to play in the team, right? You think he should play in the team. You think he should start ahead of Anthony. It will benefit the team, right?
Yeah,
So if Sancho didn't take the route, and I know I don't like speaking in this type of way, but I'm just trying to give you an example based off what you said. If
yeah,
Sancho didn't go the route that he went,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is it fair for a player just to be like, I deserve to start, I shouldn't be on the bench? The same way with how other players are getting opportunities and others aren't. Pelestri's getting opportunity is not getting opportunities, but Scott McTominay keeps starting, and me and you both know McTominay should not be starting in that team. So are
yeah.
you telling me
Yeah.
that players have no right to stand their ground, not do what Sancho did? Don't confuse my question. But I think
Yeah.
that, is it wrong for them to stand their ground and say that, nah, fam, like,
Okay.
I fucking deserve to start. You know
Okay.
what I
So I
mean?
ask you, D, if you were in their shoes, how would be a polite way to address the situation as a
I'll
player?
I'll go to, I'll go to the manager. I would. I will
Thank
go to the
you.
manager.
Thank
Yes, but
you.
that's what Ben, listen. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think you've understood my question. My question
Okay.
is, like, because you said as long as a player goes and whatever, then they're wrong and you're gonna stand with the manager. So I'm
Uh,
saying that if a frustrated, is it like a player who is frustrated? Are you telling me that they've got no right to go to the manager and say, yo, fam, fuck this
okay.
shit? Why
I
the
think
fuck does this player keep fucking starting ahead of me?
okay, so there are certain ways to display those kind of frustrations, and we've seen that over the years with footballers frowning, kicking, doing that sort of stuff, and then maybe hinting at in little interviews, like maybe when they're walking off the pitch, if they've been subbed or whatever, and they're called, they will hint at something. That is what we are used to. Now, like I said, Sancho's situation is very isolated because he's listen. like,
Not speaking on
I'm
that.
like
Straight to like,
yeah, no, like listen, with Sancho's situation, I wouldn't be on his discipline issue if he just backed down. Do you understand? Like he didn't back down, D. Now I don't understand if that
that's what I'm
was his
saying. If
way of
like he
okay,
he
if that
didn't
was
back
his
down.
way
If he didn't do it
of
publicly and he didn't back down, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if a player does it, right, not publicly, like they go to a manager and they're being like, nah, fam, you know what I mean? I need to be starting.
yes,
And they
yes,
keep and he keeps getting benched. And he's like, nah, why you keep benching me? I need to be starting. And he keeps getting benched.
it's
And
an
we all know
in-house
that,
thing.
this player will definitely give us an extra 5-10% better than the player that Ten Hag is. I think that no players no right to do that. To go and
Listen,
stand their
D.
ground against the
Listen,
manager and say, "Sat
listen,
fam,
listen,
I'm
D. Listen.
sick and tired of this shit."
I get it. I get it. But listen, Sancho, like Okay,
All right.
first
Okay. Okay.
I
You know
want you
what?
to
Okay.
answer
Okay.
this. What should have Ten Hag said? Thank you. Like what? Can everybody tell me right now that question? Let's go back to that fucking question because people forget it. What should he have
Mhm.
said? Should he have lied about the situation that's going on at Manchester
No.
United?
No. No.
Should
He
he
shouldn't
have?
have lied.
What should he have done? I'm curious because he has said it, and it's out
Yeah.
there, and the consequences are
Yes.
out there. Now let's now
Yes. Yes.
revert back and say, let's say he didn't say it, and Sancho
Yeah.
didn't do all those things, and Sancho kept on being benched and kept on not playing because of what and to one two, and we are this side sitting here wondering why isn't Sancho playing, but he's being
Yeah.
benched because the in training he's not doing jack shit. You understand? But we don't know. Now it's a very it's unique. It's unique. It was almost like when God wants to show you your enemies or wants to show you the light,
Mm.
he puts you in situations or scenarios to reveal the truth. And it was one of
Yeah.
those situations. Now I'm not saying like listen, we're not saying that Sancho is completely like that. Let's not
Yeah.
listen. He is a player. What fucking
Ah.
exact? I don't listen. I'm old school. Let me just put it like that one time. I am old school, and fuck you. There's a hierarchy, finished and clear. None of this bullshit. Or you can go back and forth. The manager says this. You can no. None of that. So I think to answer people, like if people are trying to understand why I keep on going on this thing, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
old school. I know I've been to boarding school where you start off as a skivvy. You have a skivvy
Yeah.
master. You work for that TV master. You make his tea, you make his breakfast, you make his bed, you carry his books, you take his books to class, you iron his clothes. That's you being a skivvy to a skivvy master. And as you grow, you end up becoming a skivvy master yourself. You have a skivvy where he answers. There's no back chatting. There's no kind of like, yo, it's not there.
You know what?
It's not there.
You know what,
Now,
dog? You know what,
Sancho,
dog? You know what?
Sancho,
You know what?
ah,
Listen, listen,
ah,
Ben. Listen, I hear you, and I'm gonna wrap this up and move to the next topic. But the last thing I want to say is that look, we get your old school, right? And there's also a lot of stuff that I preferred how they worked back in the day. But we have to accept that this is not back in the day. Times have
our
changed.
the
Time,
situation,
Ben,
the
Ben, Ben.
situation
Let me tell
calls
you
for it.
you know what I want to sound like. You know what, Ben? We're sounding like our timers when they used to say
No,
back in the day. Back in
no,
the day, this is
no,
how
no, no, no.
things were. Back in the
No,
remember,
okay, D.
wait, wait.
D.
Remember,
This is what
remember the Ben. You know, every African parent walked 40 kilometers
D,
every morning to get to class and
D,
walk 40 kilometers back. Are you
D.
telling me that that type of
You
mentality
answered
needs
my
to go
question.
across the generations?
D, you answered my question. You said, should he have lied? What should he have said? Should he have said that Sancho is training well? Unfortunately, he just
No,
didn't make
I
it.
never said
What
he.
should he have said?
I never said he should have lied.
Yeah,
I never
what
said
should
that.
he have said?
You get
What?
Ben? Honestly,
What?
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
see?
I don't know
Thank you.
because for
Thank
me
you.
personally, look,
Hey,
look, for me
should he have
personally, I
tutored?
don't think. Look, I don't think it's got anything to do about old school, or whatever. Look, he came out and said what he said. But unfortunately, and Mourinho even said this in the Obi-Wan podcast, and this is the same podcast that you sent to
Ah,
me and said, "G, listen to this podcast." He even said it himself that nowadays you have to figure it out. You can't speak to these players the way you spoke to them 20 years ago. It's not going to work. You
cool.
have to
Now,
switch it up. So what I'm
wait, D.
saying is, I'm
Okay.
not saying what Ten Hag did was wrong, but I'm just saying me, you, Ten Hag, everybody, we all have to acknowledge the fact that these players that we're watching today are not the same players of old. The same way our parents couldn't tell us to walk 40 kilometers to class and walk 40 kilometers back. We're gonna break down and cry. And they're gonna be like, you boys are weak. Back in our days, this is why I prefer old school. Where? You get what I'm saying, Ben? So you can't
D.
expect that same discipline with these new
D.
players. Unfortunately,
D.
they're going to cry. Unfortunately, they're gonna go to Twitter.
Okay.
You just have to look. I'm not saying Sancho what he did was right, absolutely wrong. But I'm just saying, don't be surprised because this is just how this generation is. It's how it is. So, like Mourinho said, you have to just figure out how you're gonna get the best out of these players, whether it's putting an arm around their shoulder whether it's liking their post on Twitter so they can see the manager's got my back. They have to try to figure this thing out.
So
Otherwise,
I'm thinking to solve this situation, like after Sancho had posted that thing, Erik Ten Hag should have put this sign there and the crown and say "My King," like
no, no,
under his post. Like, yeah, don't
I'm not
listen to
saying.
what they believe, and
Look,
then Erik Ten
look,
Hag goes, "Oh,
look.
King, salute,
I
heart
never said.
emoji."
Look, I never said that. I never said that. And I still
Yeah.
say, and I'm still saying, don't forget, I've said what Sancho did was wrong, right? Don't forget that. I'm not trying to say that Ten Hag should have approached the Sancho comment in another way and gone and liked it to get approval. No, what Sancho did was fucked up. It was wrong. You shouldn't have. You get what I mean? But I'm just saying, even if Sancho went to his office, Ten Hag can kick and throw a boot at his head and whatever. Do you get what I mean? Like back in the day, players understood the message from that. You get what I mean? Nowadays, these players are like, you're abusing me. You know what I mean? You just don't like me. You just want me out of the
Okay,
club.
D.
Do you get what I mean?
Here's a
So
here's an interesting um example or something that we can use. What happened with the Varane situation?
I don't know.
You don't know. But
I don't want.
Varane had
Look,
lost his
it was
place, right?
it was all
No, no, wait.
speculation. It was a lot of
Okay.
speculation,
Varane
and we
lost his
don't know
place.
exactly what happened. Yes.
Varane lost his place
Varane got back into
because of
Varane got
tactical,
yes, but he
and
got
then
back in the
people
team because
assumed
we
that
had
he
no
was pissed off.
Ben.
Huh?
When Varane got back in the team, we had no defenders.
What do you mean?
We had no
What do you
fit
mean?
defenders to start. We
Maguire
had
and
no fit
Evans were
defenders.
holding it down. No.
Ben,
Don't get
we
it
had
twisted. He
no
came back
fit defenders to start, and Ten Hag was on the
same as
chopping block.
him. He
He
was
had no
bouncing in and
choice.
out.
He had no choice. Ben, I
No,
get
but
what you're trying to
he
say.
too.
Look,
My point is,
I
he
get
lost
your
his
point.
place.
Look, I
The
get your
manager
point,
went
but
out,
the
spoke
situations were
about
different.
Varane. It's different.
The situations were
Like,
different, Ben. The
okay,
situations we have a plethora
okay,
of wingers. You know what I mean?
okay,
But at that
okay.
point, Ten Hag was on the chopping block. He was on the chopping block. You know, football mysterious illnesses started coming out of nowhere. Lindelof was ill. Win. He remember we even spoke about this, Ben, before that match, and we're like, he's on the chopping block. He has to start Varane. He has to. He has got no choice but to figure this thing out and start him. You understand? With
And when
Sancho,
he
it
did,
was a different
wait,
situation. With Sancho, we could keep him out of the bounds because we had replacements for him. We had plenty of
D,
replacements for Sancho. But in
D,
Varane's situation, and remember that was at the beginning of the season when we didn't even know what you know what I mean, like how the season was
it
going.
wasn't the beginning
We
of the
were
season, D.
literally that
It
match
was
when we
after
played
Man
Varane.
City. It was
The
after
match we
Man
played
City
Varane was which game did we start
when
Varane?
he was dropped for Man City, and that's where the
Yes,
speculation started from
yes,
there.
yes. Now I'm just saying when
Uh-huh.
Varane came back, which team were we playing?
I forgot.
We were
I
playing
forgot.
Bayern in the Champions League. We were playing Bayern, and we
I-
had to win to qualify
But
to
what about
Europe.
in the Premier
And
League? He
we just came off defeat. We just came off two defeats, and we needed to win in the Champions League to stay in Europe.
okay.
Ten
My
Hag was
point
on the
was
chopping block, Ben.
no. My point is it seemed as though Varane was being put on blast, like not on blast, but there was like some microscope, like, oh, because Varane he's pissed off that he was dropped off, and then he's lost his place, and then there's this friction, and Erik Ten Hag kept on playing these other players instead of Varane until one
Mm.
of them got injured. Then Varane came back and started doing what he was doing, which is being Varane, and then we took it from there. Let's not forget, because I
I'm not
remember
forgetting.
Evans got injured, and then when he got injured, it was only for a few moments, and then Maguire got injured, and then Evans came back, Varane was back, and then we had our players there, and then we kept on going, and then Varane was there, and Maguire has been injured, and these guys have been going back and forth, and we've been waiting. Now, my point is, when he was dropped, there was that issue of him having this issue with Ten Hag. It didn't seem like it exploded. He said stuff about, well, he didn't say stuff, but he just said that he needs to work his way back into the starting lineup. Like he said, like about everyone. He said that about Maguire. He says that
Yeah,
about everybody who has, if you're injured and you are coming back and somebody has taken over your position and is doing well, he always says the same
yeah,
thing. So he said the exact
yeah.
same thing about Varane. And Varane came back in there and did his thing. He just shut up and then People were the ones that were speculating, saying that there's an issue going on. Oh, there's this scuffle, whatever. It also looked like it because Varane would come in pissed off, wasn't smiling, and we were coming up with all these scenarios and everything that was going on. Now,
Yeah.
my thing is there's a hint of similarity in that whole thing, in the fact that Varane just fucking didn't take what the manager said, tactical, whatever, tactical tweak. He didn't take that thing to heart and think that he's not, because Varane is the best defender. And by saying that he's taking Varane out, it would almost seem like it's an insult to Varane. That's why people came up with these speculations. Do you understand? Now, by saying that you're taking out Varane because of a tactical issue, is not saying that Varane is a bad defender. Now, people ones who are now insinuating that Varane is pissed off. No, he just missed his spot. He just missed his
But
spot.
then
People are doing that
but
thing. Now,
you
my
literally
issue is,
but
is
you
he
literally
has
said
just
you
gotten in. No, he just got on with it. He just got on with it. That's my thing. He got on with it. Sancho, yeah, we're putting out like, dude, like
but
we
then
Sancho.
how did
How many times do we have to put our arm around Sancho? How many
no, look,
fucking times?
I'm not saying that.
Ah,
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like like how we chat in the group and how we like push this thing of no, Tivo has an agenda against Aaron Wan Bissaka. Because
ah.
the same thing what you're doing is it's like you're creating all these like scenarios, creating all these positive scenarios for Varane, but you don't want to create them for Sancho. And you sort of contradicted yourself because
Wait,
you said
how?
that Varane was upset because the way you could see the way he was
No, I
moping
said that
around,
people
etc.
portrayed him.
And
We
that's
saw
the
that,
second thing.
and then people
Yeah,
started.
yeah,
No,
that's
no,
the
no, no.
second
I
thing
said
you
we
said.
saw that, and then we're like, people are portraying that, and those are the stories that were coming out that Varane is upset. That's what I said,
All
T.
right. All right. No, it's fine. All right. So that's basically it. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like and subscribe for this content. And we'll catch y'all guys in the next one. Peace.